Hello, hello, hello. This is Roger W. Knight, and this time I'm going to give you a little lecture on the neatest little math trick for mechanics, machinists, and mechanical engineers. This is a problem that sometimes crops up when you are working on your own car, or you're working on machinery, you're working on this. You say you got a new replacement part for, say, your classic American car. Now, that's a classic American car, say 1960s or 70s vintage, 50s vintage. All the fasteners tend to have a standard hex heads. You know, little hex heads like this here. They come in sizes like 3/8 and 7/16, half, 9/16, 5/8 inch, and so on and so forth. So you don't expect a metric hex head on any such vehicle. But sometimes when you replace a part, you order a replacement part for such a vehicle, the fasteners that come with it are usually what the manufacturer finds convenient for them. And sometimes they don't use the same standard of fasteners that the vehicle that they're to be made in there. In my case, I ordered some door handles for my classic 1966 Pontiac Le Mans. And they're the same door handles that General Motors used pretty much throughout their entire lineup at the time. So, you know, they would fit Oldsmobiles and Chevrolets and even Cadillacs and Buicks and such. And they basically same thing. And so the fasteners were, I could get them out with a 3/8 hex. And I got new fasteners with the new part, and I thought, well, 3/8 hex. Let me see. I got this tool. It says 3/8 right there, so I figured it would fit. And what happens? Well, apparently it's too small for this hex. So I says, okay, well, let's just grab the 7/16 out of my trusty little toolkit. You see, I got a little toolkit. You see, I have all the little sockets there, little 1/4-inch drive toolkit. And I get 7/16. And I put the hex head in there, and it's really loose. Like, you know, if you have to go in there, it could probably slide over them, and it just catches the corners. So I know what you're thinking, you know. 3/8 and 7/16, 13/32 would be the hex size that's halfway in between. But anybody who's worked on vehicles and other classic machinery tends to know that 13/32 not a common hex size. You almost never find it. You never find a socket wrench in that size. So you're sitting there working on your car. You're dirty. Your hands are dirty. And you're wondering, well, is this a metric size? And which metric size do I have to look for? Because you may have to go to the store to buy one if you didn't expect to need a metric size, or borrow one from a friend. You want to know, well, what size? Well, this is where the neat little math trick comes in. As you know, the first thing you got to understand is that, as you can see, 1 inch is defined as 25.4 millimeters by pretty much the nations of the world since about 1959. And machine shops and manufacturers such as Ford Motor Company and General Motors and Boeing Aircraft and all the manufacturers use the standard of 1 inch equals 25.4 millimeters as the standard conversion ratio between the English system and the metric system. Now, prior to that, there was what they call the survey yard or the survey foot, where the transition was considered to be where 1 yard was equal to 3,600 39/37 meter, but that's not exactly where you get 1 inch equal to 100 39/37 meter, but that's not exactly 25.4 millimeters. It's just a little off. But now, if you flip it over, you can readily deduce that 1 millimeter is thus defined as 1/25.4 of an inch. And if you multiply both sides of the fraction by 10, you know, which you're basically multiplying by 1, you get 10^254 of an inch. So if you know that a millimeter is 10^254 of an inch, you have your neat little math trick. And I wrote this up here. Now you go down, and the problem is what I says. Well, what are we looking at? Well, the easy way to do it, you're sitting there, you're dirty, your hands are dirty. You don't feel like getting up just to punch a calculator or get a pencil and write a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper. So you can do this in your head. And you say, well, 3/8 inch is obviously, it's equal to 6/16 because you multiplied both sides of the fraction by 2. And you can figure out, well, that's 12/32, and that's 24/64, and then it's 48 1/28 inch. Now, the neat little thing about the English and metric system conversion here is that 48 1/28 of an inch is just slightly less than 48 1/27. And then 48 1/27 is equal to 96 2/54 of an inch, which you can really deduce as 9.6 millimeters, which is a good approximation of 3/8 inch. So now you're thinking, well, this hex that doesn't fit that's too big to fit my 3/8 inch socket might be a 10 millimeter or 11 millimeter hex. So you have to say, well, what's on the other side? You can look at 7/16, and again, 7/16 is 14/32, it's 28/64, is 56 1/28 of an inch. 56 1/28 is just slightly less than 56 1/27 of an inch. You go down here, and 56 1/27 of an inch is equal to 112 divided by 254 is 112 2/54 of an inch, which gives you 11.2 millimeters. So the strange hex is either 10 millimeter or 11 millimeter. You look for such sockets in your toolbox. And what do I got here? Well, let's see. I got a socket here. I pull this out, and as you can see, if you can see, it's a 10 millimeter socket. Maybe this is the one that'll fit. So I try this, and what do you know? It fits like a glove. If I can get a 10 millimeter socket, then I can use this to install my door handle. So therefore I solve my little problem without doing too much math, just by knowing how to sling fractions in my head. Now this can be helpful in like a machine shop. Let's say we have another drawing problem where the drawing shows a hole through which a 15 millimeter shaft is to be fitted. It is not a press fit. There needs to be an allowance that allows the shaft to slip through to turn without wobbling around too much. A 15.1 millimeter drill bit would do the job. But where are you going to get one? However, drill bits in inch fraction sizes of 1/64 increments are common. You can go to any hardware store and buy a bunch of them. 15 millimeters is equal to 150 2/54 of an inch, which is 75 1/27 of an inch. Now, 75 1/27 of an inch is just a little bigger than 75 1/28 inch. But 75 1/28 inch is not a common size for a drill bit, and we need the hole to be larger, not smaller than the 15 millimeter shaft, which is 75 1/27 inch in diameter. So we increase the diameter by 1/28, and we get, look at this, 76 1/28 is equal to 38/64, is equal to 19/32 inch. We might be able to complete the task and make the part and therefore fill the order and earn money by which our wages can be paid if we load a 19/32 drill bit into the drill press. What is allowance? Allowance is the difference between the diameter of our proposed hole and the 15 millimeter shaft. That is where some arithmetic, as once taught in our school since the days of Muhammad ibn al-Khwarizmi, comes in handy. And we get the estimate. 19/32, it comes out to 0.59375 inch. 75 1/27 comes out to 0.590551181 inch. And you do the quick math, and you get about 0.0032 inch, or 3.2 thousandths, or 3.2 mils to get your allowance. Now, if the drawing says that the allowance should be between 1/1000th of an inch and 1/100th of an inch, we got it, and we used the 19/32 drill bit. Question: are there sizes where the inch and the metric tools and parts can be interchangeable? The answer, amazingly enough, is yes. 4 millimeters is 40 2/54 of an inch, which is equal to 21 1/27 of an inch. 21 1/27 is just a little larger than 21 1/28 inch. 21 1/28 inch equals 10/64 equals 5/32 inch. A 5/32 socket can be used to turn a 4mm hex, and vice versa. You can take a 4mm socket and turn a 5/32 hex. Likewise, a 5/16 socket can be used on an 8mm hex, and a 5/8 socket can be used on a 16mm hex. It's too bad these are not common metric hex sizes in nuts and bolts. But 5/16 hexes are fairly common, 5/8 hexes as are seen on 7/16 size bolts and screws. The difference between 1/27 and 1/128 is very, very small, about 1/16 2/56 inch, about 61 microinches. The difference between 5/32 and 4mm is about 1.23 thousandths of an inch, and so on. So, if you know these things, you have some useful information on how to convert from inch fractions to millimeters and back again. This is just useful if you work on vehicles and machinery, if you work in machine shops, or if you're a mechanical engineer in an office where you're designing stuff. Because, you know, the world is that the world uses millimeters and it uses inch fractions. That's just the way the world is and the way the common parts are. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you find this helpful and makes your life easier if you perform in one of these professions. Thanks a lot, and you have a nice day.